Welcome to Coach Taylor's class videos, and today we're going to talk about point-slope form, how we use it, what we know about it, and how we can turn point-slope form into slope-intercept form. So first thing I want to highlight is our y and our x. These are, let me write the right letter, variables, and these variables do not change. Everything else in the equation is going to change, but those two are going to stay. The next thing I want to highlight is m is our slope, is our rise over run, just like it is for our slope-intercept form. And then finally, our y1 and our x1. These right here are a point on the line. So normally when we have points, we write them x comma y, and so we turn the x into x1 and the y into y1. And the key thing about these in this equation is the negative. We must change the sign of each point. And so we're going to go through and be able to identify these key features in our point-slope form. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to write an equation in point-slope form. So we have y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And again, our x and our y are always variables, and they're going to stay x and y. So we're going to write down our y, and when we write our points, we always write them as x, y. So the thing about the negative, remember, is that we have to change the sign of the point. So if our y is a positive 3, it becomes y minus 3. And then we're going to write our equals. It tells us our slope is 3 over 2. Then we're going to write our parentheses x. And then again, we have a negative x1, so we must change the sign. Since our x point is negative, it is in fact going to become positive. And so this right here is our point-slope form. Y minus 3 equals 3 over 2, x plus 2. All right, so let's do one more. So again, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And again, our x and our y are simply variables. They're letters that we're going to use. So we're going to write down our y. We need to find our y1. And so because it's a negative 5, we need to change the sign. It's going to become positive. Then we write our equals and our slope, which is 1 over 2. And then we write our parentheses x, because again, that x is just a variable. It's always going to stay that way. The 4 is positive, so we need to change the sign and make it negative. And so this is our point-slope equation. All right, one last one. And again, we get y, not y equals y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And so again, our y and our x are simply variables. They're going to stay there. So we're going to put y. We need to change the sign of our y point, so our 6 becomes positive, equals our m is 0. Our x is simply a variable, so we rewrite it. Our x1 has the negative in front of it, so we need to change the negative 1 to positive 1. And that right there is our point-slope equation. Now, I want to make sure that we understand our parts and pieces of point-slope equation, and I just want to add one real quick note here. We must change the sign of the point. So when I see my negative 4 right here, I'm going to change the sign and it's going to become a positive 4. Right here, when I see the positive 4, I need to change the sign and make it a negative 4. So we're going to need to do that every single time. So when we write our point, we always write our point as x, comma, y. And since I've already flipped the signs, I need to write my x first, which is negative 4. And then I need to write my y second, which is a positive 4. And next, our rate of change is simply our m, or our slope. And so our m, or our slope in this equation, is a positive 3/4. All right, so again, I need to find the point. So my y is +3, so I need to change it to a -3. My x is -4, so I need to change it to positive. We write our points as x comma y. So -4 comma, not -4, sorry, +4 comma -3 is the point that they use in that equation. And then our slope is the number in front of the parentheses, so our slope is 5. All right, one more time. We've got to change the signs on our point. So my y point becomes negative and my x point becomes negative. So x comma y, so it's going to be -6 comma -1. Again, our rate of change is our m, which is our slope. And in this equation, our slope is a positive 1/2. And so that's just a real quick explainer on what point slope is. Now I'm going to show you how we can change point slope into slope intercept form by just simply solving an equation. So anytime we see a fraction next to a parentheses, it tells us automatically that we need to distribute. And so I'm just going to simply rewrite my y minus 4. I know that 3/4 times a 1 is going to be 3/4, and I need to make sure I put the x next to the 3/4. And then I'm going to show you over here on the side just a little bit of fraction math. So if we have 3/4 times 1, we're going to change the 4 to a fraction by putting over 1. Anytime we have the same number on top and bottom, they're going to cancel out. So this gives me a 3/1 when I multiply across, and that leaves me with simply a positive 3. So it's going to be 3/4 x plus 3. And remember, we want to get this into slope-intercept form. And our slope-intercept form is y equals. So I'm going to put a box around my y because I want my y to stay in that spot and then move everything else beside it to the other side. So what that means is the only thing that's left beside it is my -4. So to move my -4, I need to change it to positive. And then I need to figure out where to move it. So my 4 does not have an x, so I'm not going to put it next to 3/4 x. I'm just going to bring the 3/4 x down, but I am going to put it next to the 3 because neither one of them have a variable. So my 4's cross out. I'm left with y equals 3/4 x, and a 3 plus 4 is going to be a positive 7. So my slope-intercept form of this equation is y equals 3/4 x plus 7. All right, so let's do 2 more, and then that's all we've got in point slope form. So again, anytime I see a number next to a parentheses, I need to distribute, which means to multiply. So since that's all on that side of the equation, I'm going to write y plus 3 again. I'm going to write my equals. 5 times 1 is going to be 5, and then I'm going to write down my x. 5 times a -4 is going to be -20. On my next step, I need to get the y all by itself, and I need to move everything next to the y to the other side of the equal sign. So I need to flip the sign of my 3. I need to find my other constant, which is -20. I'm going to bring the 5x down, and the 3's cancel. So y equals 5x, and it's a -23, because when I have two negatives, they're going to stay negative, and I need to add them. All right, so our last one. Anytime I have a number next to a parentheses, that tells me to distribute, which is the same thing as multiplying. I'm going to bring down my y plus 1, write my equal sign. Ooh, that does not look like a 1. Give me 1 second. Y plus 1. 1/2 times 1x is simply going to be 1/2 x. And then again, let's talk about a little bit of fraction math. So if I have 1/2 times 6/1, all it means is I'm simply going to take 6 and I'm going to divide it by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is going to get me a positive 3. And now I can do my next step. So again, draw the line through my equal sign. I need the y all by itself. I'm going to subtract 1 to the other side, bring down my 1/2 x. And so a positive 3 minus 1 is going to be a positive 2. And so that's how we turn our slope-intercept equation into, or our point slope equation into our slope intercept equation, which is y equals mx plus b.